Brett Dawson here at the AT&T Center, where the Spurs beat the Thunder 103-99, and San Antonio looks playoff ready defensively. Really strong defensive performance by the Spurs tonight, and particularly on Russell Westbrook. Westbrook struggled in the fourth quarter in the sort of situations where you're kind of used to him making heroic plays, coming up big, making shots in the clutch. Had a really hard time tonight at the rim, where DeJounte Murray and the Spurs' help really was there to contest him, make him take some tough shots, or kind of try for some challenge dump-off passes to Steven Adams that didn't really work. And then on the perimeter, Westbrook, a couple of really ill-advised three-point shots in the fourth quarter that misfired, one misfired wildly. Just not his night in the fourth quarter. Partially the Spurs defense, partially some of his own shot selection. And without him there to take over down the stretch, the Thunder just couldn't quite get it done offensively. 6 of 22 from the floor in the fourth. Spurs defense was really strong. The Spurs didn't shoot a lot better than that in the fourth quarter or in the game. Actually shot a little worse in the game than the Thunder did. Just made some key plays, a couple of stops, 2 big ones in the fourth quarter when it got stops on one end and converted those into three-pointers at the other end. Took a 1-point game in 2 possessions up to 6, and that was or up to 7, and that was a really significant stretch for the Thunder. The other thing that the Spurs did was just they got a couple of loose balls here and there. Some of those are lucky bounces. Some of those are energy and effort plays. Whatever the case was, there were just a couple of bounces that kind of went against the Thunder. A ball right on the verge of going out of bounds doesn't. A save from Patrick Patterson ends up in the Spurs' hands for a 3. So a couple of plays like that, a couple of bad breaks. But also just not very much offensive cohesion down the stretch. Westbrook with those bad shots, as I mentioned. Paul George made 1 3-pointer and got fouled on another in the fourth quarter, but Carmelo Anthony didn't get a shot despite having shot the ball pretty well. Steven Adams really couldn't get anything going in that pick and roll game. He talked a lot about the Spurs defense, their length, kind of the way they play that pick and roll, and the sort of step between he and Westbrook. They kind of take away a lot of what the Thunder likes to do in that pick and roll situation with Westbrook and Adams. That wasn't very efficient tonight. And Thunder just couldn't get enough going offensively. The bench struggled at times, certainly struggled when the Thunder was able to build some leads, including at one point Billy Donovan leaves Russell Westbrook in the third quarter with 4 fouls. He manages to not pick up a foul for a stretch of about 5 minutes before he goes to rest, and the Thunder builds a lead there. It was a 5-point lead when he went out. It was only a 1-point lead at the end of the third quarter. A 3-pointer right at the end of the third, a 3-pointer early in the fourth, and suddenly the Spurs were right back in the game. So Thunder just couldn't really pull away, and we've seen a little of this struggle to beat these really good teams on the road in these situations now that are really critical. The Thunder needs wins, needs to solidify its playoff resume. It falls out of 4th place into 5th tonight. The Spurs leapfrog them and move into 4th with the same record, but on the strength of a tiebreaker. We've seen the Thunder go to Toronto and win, but then we see them go to Boston and lose a game late in the game where the other team just kind of makes some clutch kind of, you hate to say toughness plays, but those kinds of plays that you have to make to win games, not only at this time of year, but in the playoffs. We're going to see if the Thunder can kind of right this wrong. They got to go to New Orleans on Sunday and play another very important game against a very good team on the road. In between, tomorrow, Friday, the second night of a back-to-back, they'll play Denver in Oklahoma City. See how that one goes. Here's some post-game video from Billy Donovan, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, and Paul George.